welcome back. Once again, adventurers, to Let's Play Chaos Child. In the last episode, several days have passed, and now it is the 23rd of October. The date of the 5th murder, coinciding with the 5th murder of the second of the New Generation Madness pattern from before. And with that in mind, Takuru and everyone else had decided to hide out at the usual hangout Cafe LAX, which at first seemed to be a good idea until Takuru had found that all their plans were for nothing, for the sumo sticker had found them. And obviously else besides the people responsible. But while Takuru had managed to regain control of his senses, he has, however, lost control of the situation. For as far as he is concerned, everyone else has vanished. Everyone except one person. And that person was the very person who they were trying to avoid. The pyrokinetic gigglomaniac known as Amy, or rather, Senri Minamisawa. And she is here. And she knows she has Takuru cornered. I gritted my teeth to keep from screaming and ran back into the cafe. Won't keep us safe for long. She's dragging that leg again. I closed the door as quietly as I could. Not that that's going to help. But we do have one thing at our disposal, but given the situation we're in, it might be a long shot. I'm scared. I'm so scared. She's going to kill me. She's going to kill me. Unfortunately, Takuru, your panicking is only going to make things worse. Senri Minamisawa is going to kill me. It's that memory from the first encounter.
誰か
I tried to scream for help, but my voice got caught in my throat. No, even if I'd been able to yell, no one was there to help me. Kurusu was gone. Sarika was gone. Which is a strike against us. It shows that our enemies know full well what we actually need to do. Because without any other observers, Takuru's gigglomaniac powers are going to be lackluster at best. And of course, so are Ito, Arimoto, Kazuki, and Uki. Even the waitress had disappeared. And the lighting seemed to have turned a faded yellow, too. The cafe was much darker than usual.
どうして
Yeah, I think we underestimated the gravity of the situation. I was too scared to speak or to do anything except slowly move backward from the door. Finally, I hit the wall and found myself with nowhere to run, and there's pretty much nowhere in this place to hide either.
So 能力僕の能力
I could knock her flames away again. I tried desperately to psych myself up for the fight. I don't think it's gonna be that easy, but
なんで
I couldn't see it. The D sword. The D sword wouldn't appear.
なんだよこんな時
No matter how much I tried to concentrate, the terror won out, and the D sword refused to appear. Past the entrance to the cafe, I could hear the loud clicking of a heel against the floor, and the sound of a leg sliding along the ground. She was bringing me a merciless death. Yeah. Things are looking
どこ
very
どこか
grim.
隠れる場所
I looked around and saw a door on the other side of the kitchen. It was the employee bathroom. It's going to be a very obvious place. Sorry. Excuse me. Very obvious place, and it's pretty much cornering ourselves into a dead end, but it's all we got. I flung myself away from the wall, ripped open the door, and went inside. Yeah, we completely underestimated the enemy's tactics here. And I locked the door with trembling hands. Not that I think it's going to do us much good, Takuru. There were no windows in the bathroom. I'd run inside without even bothering to turn on the lights, so it was pitch black. In that cramped, enclosed space, my heart started to pound fast, and my breathing became heavy. She was going to hear me. I needed to be quiet. I put my hand over my mouth to stifle the sound. Yeah, that's not going to help. It hurt to breathe, but if I couldn't be quiet, she'd find me and kill me. Senri Minami-sawa's footsteps finally reached this floor. She's inside. And then she stopped suddenly, and there was an eerie silence. I could almost sense, somehow, that she was looking for me. Just go away. I don't think she's going to listen to reason. Leave me alone. I prayed, but it was a waste of time. She came inside the cafe. The footsteps started again. Slowly, slowly. That she is. The woman slowly moved around the cafe. Hunting us. I could hear her dragging her leg from one side of the cafe to the other, as if she were toying with me. Each time she moved, she knocked glasses and cups to the floor where they shattered. I think we can safely say we are trapped. All I could do was try not to scream. I remembered all the horrible ways the other psychics had died. Don't look at me, leaky noise, revolving dead, Gotsuan death. Was that going to happen to me too? No, I don't want to die like that. I think fate has even crueler things in store. Takuru. Always keep getting confused. How much time had passed after that? Suddenly, Senri Minami-sawa's footsteps started to get farther and farther away. She's leaving. I couldn't tell from here, but it felt like she might be about to leave.
もしかして助かる
Too soon to tell about that. I concentrated as hard as I could on listening to those eerie footsteps. I could hear a door open and close, and that awful dragging sound again, this time going down the stairs. And soon, there was no sound at all. I think we lucked out there. I panted in relief.
やった逃げ切った
Now we wouldn't have to die in the new generation mad. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. It was so utterly unexpected that I couldn't stop myself from screaming. The knocking stopped for an instant. I could sense that someone was looking at me from the other side of the flimsy door.
そんなバカな今階段降りていたはずだろなのになんで
Yeah, Senri Minamisawa is downstairs. Unfortunately, she's not alone. She was never alone. The knocking started again. That same eerie knocking.
あの時のノックだホテルで聞いたあのノックの音
Yes, indeed. Been a while since we heard it, but it's back. And slowly but steadily it continued. The interval between each knock was identical and mechanical. Knock, knock. Sorry, knock, 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 knock. I tried to get away from the door, as far away from the door as I could. But the bathroom was tiny and there was nowhere to run.
こうなったらやってやる能力なんか使えなくたって
Yeah, we, unfortunately, Takuru can't use his D-sword. On top of his powers, we're at a huge handicap. I won't just let her kill me. I'll catch her my damned self. Could I beat a pyrokinetic with my bare hands? The thought flashed through my mind for an instant. But I didn't think I could take the terror anymore. I was at my limit. I screamed, unlocked the door, and slammed into it as hard as I could. The bathroom door opened with a bang. Well, we're doing this. Overcome with terror, I screamed and slammed the person in front of me to the floor. But
何してるのタクル
at the last minute, someone grabbed my head from the side. I smelled a pleasant scent that I knew well.
あ
Yeah. Seems to me that Uki Yamazoe isn't the only one that can wheel boot delusions. into other people's minds.
どうしたの一体。
苦す
Yeah, I think we grievously underestimated the danger at hand. Kurusu was beside me, holding me, and
重いよタク。潰れる。中身が出る。
the person I'd knocked to the floor was Serika. Any more than I would have hurt her.
宮代先輩、すっげえ大胆。こんな場所でセリの初めてを奪おうとするなんて。
Not the reaction that I would have expected from you given the situation.
違う、そんなことより
Yeah, I think it's time to tell them what happened. But yes, it was a delusion. But a very deliberate one at that. I shook off Kurusu's arm and stood up.
あの女
あの女？
Everyone looked confused. Serika stood up, rubbed her butt, and started to look around the room.
あの女って誰？
だから今ここにいたの。僕を殺そうとして。っていうか、お前らこそ今までどこにいたんだよ。
あ？どこって、ずっとここにいたぞ。
Yeah, of course. Ito stood up from the sofa on the window. Yamazori and Kazuki were sitting next to him with surprised looks on their faces.
なあ、お主ら、少しばかり騒がしいの。これ以上迷惑になるようなら、即刻出て行ってもらうが。
We probably can't stay here anyway. Even the waitress was here too.
そんな。確かに僕は襲われたんだ。しかも店には誰もいなくて。
Yeah, we were attacked, but not just physically. Is that just a dream? A delusion? A weaponized delusion?
違う。夢なんかじゃない。何もかもリアルだった。
I could still remember the sound of her leg dragging and the sound of the knocking at the door. Just thinking of them made me shiver.
ってことは、これもあの女の南沢千里の能力なのか。偽のカフェラックスを作り出し、僕だけを閉じ込めて。
No, I don't think Senri has this power, but the other person certainly does. I thought she was just a pyrokinetic. Could she do that as well?
いや、それとも彼女の手助けをしている能力者がいるのか。
Yeah, an accomplice. Either way, the possibility we discussed at the newspaper meeting was right, and in a bad way. There is someone else as well.
ちょっと大丈夫タクル。ひどい汗よ。
Yeah, finally someone notices. It would be Kurusu. Kurusu took out a handkerchief from her pocket and started to gently wipe the sweat off my forehead. but suddenly her hand stopped. She looked at me, her face pale.
タクル、あなた、目から血が。
I put my hands up to my eyes, surprised. When I tried to rub them, I felt something slick, and when I looked at my hands, they were bright red. I could see my blood on her handkerchief. Had I been so scared and tense that the blood vessels around my eyes had burst? Oh, there's more to it than that.
どうしたのそれ。
Yeah,
大丈夫か宮代。
あ、
父さんに見てもらわなきゃ。行こう、タク。
just like the other victims, eh, Takuru? Kurusu and Serika tried to drag me out the cafe. I could see Ito, Arimura, Kazuki, and Uki in the corner of my eye, trying to figure out what to do. I turned to them and said,
伊藤、有村、和樹、山添、お前たちも一緒に。
はい。
yeah, we do need to stick together.
私もいいんですか、こんな時間に。
遠慮なんかしてる場合じゃない。能力者がターゲットにされてるのは間違いないんだ。今日が終わるまでとにかく離れちゃダメだ。
We left Cafe LAX and headed for Aoba Clinic.
Ah, 特に目に異常はねえな。角膜も綺麗なもんだし、血圧もほぼ正常と。
So what is the problem? Well, even though I think we can guess. Dad nodded as he looked at me.
頭痛はするか？体のどこかがしびれるとかは？
特には。
視界の一部が欠けてたり、狭くなったりもしてないな？
うん。
そっか。なら大丈夫だ。
I wouldn't exactly say fine. Fine is not the word I would use.
本当にもっとよく見て。
Kurusu was sitting next to me, worried.
さっきからそればっかだな、お前。
だって。
まぶたの裏に血管があって、稀にそれが切れることがある。ひどい緊張や興奮をして力が入ったり、踏ん張ったりするとな。覚えがないか、タグル。
I remembered the attack on Cafe LAX and shivered. But I nodded before Dad could see.
だろう？それが原因だよ。心配ない。
Dad called up my chart on the computer, the same one he'd been using since I was in a coma. He started to type something. Kurusu was not happy about this.
おいおい、ノノ。そんなおっかない顔で睨むなって。
タクルに何かあったらどうする気？
わかったわかった。
Dad stopped typing and opened another page on the chart.
タクル、紹介状書いてやるから、明日また頭の中の写真撮ってこい。
でも
I think I would actually take him up on his advice there, Takuru.
いいから行けって。可愛い娘が怒って口聞いてくれなくなったら困るんだよ。
うん。
Very well then. Dad wrote me another referral to the same hospital as before, which was finally enough to satisfy Nono.
いやあ、そうだ、ノノ。お前、自分もまだ病み上がりだってこと忘れんなよ。
あ、うん。そうね。ごめんなさい。
I'm pretty sure that she'll be
分かって
better
りゃいい。
now. It's been a while since he was stabbed. After all, Dad smiled. Kurusu and I thanked Dad, then went up to the dining room where the rest of the group was waiting.
Ah, Uki. 私アップルティー。私も。わかりました。伊藤さんは？
コーヒーブラックで。
It's like everyone's having a good time. When we got to the dining room, Uki was running around getting drinks for everyone. I looked at the clock and it was almost 11 p.m. It was just one more hour until October 23rd was over.
で、さっき何があったのかちゃんと説明してくれるんですよね、宮代先輩。
We're very happy to, Hanai. Arimura looked at me as she sipped her apple tea. She had the same joking voice she used at school, but her eyes were serious. She seems to have come up with her own ideas on what might have happened to me, and her eyes were as gloomy as they were when we'd first met.
話すよ。例のパイロキネシストのことだから。
南沢千里。
The very same. I glanced at Kurusu just for a second. I thought she wouldn't want to hear that her old friend might be a serial killer.
クルス、もし嫌なら。
And just showing concern.
自分の部屋に戻っててくれ。父さんかユイのところへ行ってでもいいし。
うん。ちゃんと聞かせて。
クルス。
聞きたいの。だからここにいる。
Very well then.
そっか。じゃあ。
So be it. I sat down in a chair at the dinner table and after a moment's hesitation, slowly began to describe what happened to me at Cafe LAX. As I talked, the terror started to come back to me, and my hands were soon covered in a nasty sweat. I didn't want to look bad in front of everyone, but I couldn't stop my voice from shaking.
それでその後は知っての通りだ。ドアを飛び出したら外はいつも通りのカフェに戻ってた。
was silence for a moment after I finished. Yeah, I know it sounds absurd, but yeah. I think we kind of let our guard down there. Arimura especially seemed to be lost in thought. That was of course because Senri Minamisawa was probably after me, her, or Uki.
殺されてたまるか。
She whispered in a low voice and suddenly stuck her hand out into the air.
おい。
Yamazoe and I moved away surprised. Of course, you are the only one of us that has the D-sword, who can actually use it. Arimura had suddenly drawn her D-sword.
お前、何を。
決まってるでしょ。武器ですよ。
武器。
あんたも出せるんだよね、ウキ。もしあいつが現れたら戦う。手伝いなさい。戦うって、私、そんな。
Yeah, I don't think Uki can draw her D-sword.
いいから早く。
And of course, Uki really dislikes fighting. Uki tried to shake her head no, but when Arimura glared at her threateningly, she bit her lip. And then she reached out her hand. Or maybe I was wrong. A giant sword appeared in her hand too. Yeah, a sword that she really, really doesn't want to have to use. But when worst comes to worst, she'll have no choice. Third, of course, once again, Takuru completely unable to draw his own D-sword, no matter how hard he tries.
宮代先輩も
Because of
早
the
く。
reasons. Yeah, there is a slight problem with that, Hanai. Takuru can't draw his D-sword.
そんなこと急に言われても、どうやって抜いたらいいかわからないんだそれ。
役に立ちませんね。
Pretty much. As scathing as that is, it's not wrong. I could hear how annoyed she was. It had been a long time since I'd seen her act this cold.
ねえ、何？どうしたの？
Yeah. Serika and Ito can't see their swords.
一体何の話してんだよ。
The others couldn't see the D-sword. All they saw was Uki and I freaking out.
私たちこの前、南沢千里に襲われました。そして今日も宮代先輩が。こんなのもう我慢できない。だから。
Arimura looked at the sword in her hands and cackled.
この手で事件を終わらせてやります。南沢千里を殺して。
I don't think dealing with Senri alone is going to end the case.
ちょっと待って。
Everyone turned to look at Kurusu. She probably knew that she was getting too emotional about the situation because she was hesitating more than I'd ever seen before.
あのね、千里が犯人って、本当のことなの？
証拠はまだあの ID カードと僕らの証言しかない。けど
慰霊碑にはあの子の名前がちゃんとあるのよ。
それは何かのミスじゃないですか。AH 東京総合病院のデータでは行方不明になっていたんですよね。
けど私見たんだもの。私の目の前で千里は瓦礫に潰されて。
She must have been remembering something painful. She put her hands to her chest and her nails dug in deep. But then Arimura raised her eyebrows so high that I could see it from here.
クルス先輩。どうして嘘をつくんですか？
Yeah, and I can see the truth. The truth of the reality that all this time, Kurusu has been trying to convince herself of Senri's death.
え？
Yeah, she may not be doing it consciously, but she is deceiving herself. Or rather, she has been deceived.
Huh?
Shocked, I glanced at them from one to the other. Arimura was staring at Kurusu with suspicious eyes. But Kurusu's expression remained unchanged to the point where it almost seemed unnatural.
クルス先輩の今の言葉は嘘です。
Arimura's power let her tell when someone was lying. In other words, Kurusu was absolutely lying right now. But Kurusu looked Arimura dead in the eyes as she spoke.
嘘なんかじゃないわ。
いいえ、先輩は南沢千里が死んだところを見ていません。
あなたの能力というのがどのくらい正確なのか私は知らない。けれど彼女はもうこの世にはいないわ。
そう信じたいだけじゃないんですか？あるいは南沢千里が実は生きているのを知っているとか。
The two of them glared at each other.
もし仮に。
はい。
仮に千里が生き延びていたとしてもあの子に殺人なんてできるはずがない。
Kurusu's voice took on a sorrowful note.
千里はとっても臆病な子だった。小さな虫を殺すこともできないくらい気が弱くて、何かあるとすぐに泣きべそをかいて、だからいつも誰かの後をついて回っていたわ。もちろん暴力なんて嫌いだったし、血を見るのすら苦手だった。そんな千里が猟奇殺人なんて、私にはどうしても納得がいかない。ありえないわ。
You say it's impossible, but given what she's been put through, yeah, it's terrifying what someone can do under the right pressure.
どうやら今度は本当のことを言っているようですね。
だから
Kurusu's voice was rarely this emotional, but she must have realized that nothing she said would matter, so she fell silent.
とにかく千里が犯人じゃないとしたら、タクルたちの憶測は完全に間違ってしまっているわ。真犯人が他にいたらどうする気なの？
Someone else could be the true perpetrator, Kurisu. But be that as it may, Senri is the accomplice. She is
それは
involved in this. Of course, I thought about that possibility. That there might be multiple killers. That there might be another psychic working with Senri Minamisawa.
でもだとしても今日が終わるまでに誰も殺されなければ僕らの勝ち。
No, we don't. That was Yui. Everyone leapt out of their chairs as we heard a scream from downstairs. Was that Yui's voice? Kurisu ran down the stairs. We followed right after her. Something has happened. Something very ungood. Yui had fallen backward onto the ground near the front desk. Her face was pale and her jaw was chattering.
お姉ちゃん、ねえ、どうしたの？
ユイ、大丈夫か、ユイ。
There's Sakamo and Yuto. Yuto and Dad grabbed her and held her tight, but she was still shaking. The terror had completely consumed her.
何があったの？ユイ。お姉ちゃん。しっかりしなさい。
Kurisu grabbed her by the cheeks and yelled.
私、寝ようと思って、父さんにお休みの挨拶して。おやすみなさい。父さんも無理しないで、もう寝たら？
So something happened.
そう思うんだったらノノに意見しといてくれ。あいつのせいで余計な仕事が一つ増えたんだよ。
ノノ姉はタクル兄のことになると人が変わるから。
違いねえな。じゃ、おやすみ。
おやすみ。
Seems alright so far. But then what caused her?
それで私部屋へ戻ろうとして診察室を出たんだけど、その時玄関のドアから音が。
A sound from the front door.
ノックの音が。私、休館の人かなって思って、それで返事をしたの。
Which is not unreasonable in and of itself.
すみません、今日の診察は終わりなんです。休館でしたら夜間診療のある病院をご紹介しますけど。どうなさいました？救急車呼んだ方がいいですか？ たずらならやめてください。
Oh dear. I think this place is marked.
だからやめてください。私ものすごく怖くなって。だけど外を見たら
And who was out there? Ah. That's who. Yeah. Yeah, this place isn't safe. The dorm is not safe.
もう大丈夫。大丈夫よ、ユイ。
Oh, it may be okay for now. Kurusu rubbed her head gently, and at last the dam burst and Yui started to cry. Everyone looked at each other, pale as we listened to her sob. Arimura and I in particular had gone deathly white as Yui. Knocking. That was the same thing I'd heard at the cafe. Yeah, I think the net is closing in on us. This web of madness. I could feel my knees shaking. I remembered the knocking and the dragging footsteps I heard at the cafe, and my heart began to feel overwhelmed with terror. I felt an impulse to run off screaming into the night. That would be a bad thing if we did that. But strangely enough, it was Arimura who gave in before I did. She gritted her teeth so hard I could hear it from where I was standing, and then ran toward the front entrance.
おい、有村。
Yeah, we should stop her. Goading us is what they want. She yanked open the lock on the door and then flung it open. Then she ran out into the street, flailing her D-sword.
南沢千里、私はここにいる。くだらない小細工なんかやめて、さっさと殺しに来いよ。
I don't think screaming that in the empty night is going to help. She kept swinging her D-sword at the shadows formed by the street lamps.
私はもう逃げも隠れもしない。殺せるもんなら殺してみろって言ってんだ。
やめろ、有村。何やってるんだよ。
I grabbed Arimura from behind. She'd clearly gone insane. Not quite. Her D-sword hadn't been real-booted yet, so it just slid right through me. If it had been, I wouldn't have survived.
やだ、離して。殺されるのは嫌。
落ち着け。
understand
あ
the
いつは僕らが
sentiment.
パニックになるのを狙ってるんだ。冷静にならなきゃ負けだ。
なんでこんな目に遭わなきゃならないの。能力なんてなければよかった。こんなものさえなければ。
When I saw her, I realized that I'd been making a mistake. For a while now, I thought that I was starting to understand Arimura, but I was wrong. A bratty know-it-all. A normal girl who sometimes got excited and smiled a childlike smile. I was always surprised when she did, but I also told myself that that's who she was, which wasn't true. It was just the exterior persona. I was wrong. She was a weak little girl whose fate was caught up in events far beyond her control.
そうだ。 能力なんてなければ誰もこんなことに巻き込まれることはなかった。
Indeed. But it is happening, Takuru. Yeah, no one would have been killed, and no one would have been tortured in those experiments in that basement. I hated myself for ever being proud of my powers. Why did they even exist? The answer to that question, Takuru Miyashiro, is what drives the very heart of this entire case. Who gave me these and why? We're gonna have to find the answer to those mysteries one way or another. Arimura's body was shaking as I held her. And pathetically enough, I was shaking every bit as much, since we're in the same boat.
おい、宮代、有村。
Probably a good time to go back inside. Ito ran up to us as we sat on the side of the road. Serika, Uki, and Kazuki ran after him.
大丈夫か？
I think so. For now.
ああ、なんとか落ち着いた。
I lied so as not to worry them.
それより部屋へ戻ろう。ここにいたら危ない。いつ襲われるか。
Yeah, we need to just last for another hour. And then Ito cut me off and showed me his phone. I flinched away.
まさかまた正体不明の電話がかかってきたのか。
I don't think so. Ito must have guessed what I was thinking because he quickly shook his head.
違う。よく見ろ、宮代。
I think we need to see it, Takuru. I stared at the phone. It had the usual wallpaper, the usual apps. There was nothing out of the ordinary. And I think that's what, that's what's so extraordinary.
気がついたか？
尾上、お前のも見せてくれ。
Serika took her phone out of her pocket and showed it to me. It showed the same thing that Ito's did. The present time and date. 12:03 a.m. October 24th. October 23rd was over.
助かったのか。
Maybe, maybe not. Arimura swung her head around and yanked the phone out of Serika's hands. Her fingers were shaking too much to read what it said. He stared at it again and again, and then... The strength drained from her tiny body as she collapsed into me. Well, October 23rd is come and gone. And then she passed out. October 23rd. The day of the return of the new generation madness. And we survived it. So, well, at least we made it. to another day. Although, we can't rest easy, because this is far from over. So when we return, adventurers, well, we're just going to have to wait and see if something else has transpired on October 23rd. Or did we really dodge a bullet after all? As always, adventurers, until next we meet.